Okay, so I can finally talk about the Mad Men finale. I say finally because I was talking about Taylor Swift and Katy Perry, and we've got other subjects, but wow, Mad Men is over. And I watched the episode, the final episode, not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times. I just sat and got other stuff done and let it run in the loop the AMC was playing. And I think it's still playing. But wow, that's 8 years. Mad Men started in 2007. This is 2015. So do you realize that the actors that we've come to know and love and their characters have had 8 years of steady work? That's fantastic. And their names have been cemented into popular culture forever. John Hamm, January Jones is Betty. Ashton Kutcher said January Jones can't act. Come on. Crazy stuff. And even Stephanie Drake, who played Meredith, the secretary, I love her acting. She's got that roll down of the secretary or the teller, that person. But you know what? I think it would be cool to see her in another type of role. But I'll get to that later because that's not really the subject of this video. At any rate, I love that this show represented the 60s, not exactly as I remember them because I lived a different life. I was born in 1962, but it touched on the hot button pop culture issues of the day and events of the day. Like, for example, when John F. Kennedy was assassinated. It was just a year after I was born. Or when Martin Luther King was shot. Or Bobby Kennedy. Or the Vietnam War. Yeah, it can go on and on and on. All of those key events during the 60s served as the backdrop for how characters interacted with each other in Mad Men. And so for us baby boomers, and I'm between baby boomer and millennial there, but is it baby boomer or whatever? It was baby boomers and then whatever came after baby boomers. I forgot what it was. But the whole point is that I am young enough to be at the end of that, but old enough to remember that. And thus to remember a time that really set the foundation for a lot of what we still think about today. The Rolling Stones, for example. Remember how Sally screamed when Don called and said he got tickets for her to see the Rolling Stones on Sunday, and he would bring earmuffs? No, not the Rolling Stones, I'm sorry. The Beatles. The Rolling Stones did figure into another episode, but in that case, it was the Beatles. I stand corrected. But the bottom line is, remember the Ruddles? They also came up during the 60s. I remember the Ruddles, okay? Such a rich living history of the 60s from a particular perspective. The only thing I didn't like about Mad Men was the lack of a black character that was in advertising, because there were blacks in advertising, and I don't mean the secretaries either. But I understand what Matt Meaner was getting at, although, I'd love to talk to him about it if I ever have the chance. And I say that because there were a number of black advertising firms that were created during that time and rose to some success. A story untold there that probably would make a great television show not unlike Mad Men. That aside, I love the show. And I'll get to one other thing that bothered me, is that I didn't grow up in a ghetto. Never have. I was born in 1962 in Chicago. My parents owned a 3-story, as we called it, 2-flat building. The people who rented from us were Jewish. We had 2 cars, a Lincoln and a Cadillac, and that was 1962, before the passage of the Civil Rights Amendment. So this idea that all blacks were in ghettos is absolutely silly. Not the case at all. Another story that needs to be told better. Lots of work to do there. Back to Mad Men. I also really enjoy that the veneer of success is matched by the truth of their own phobias and failings and anxieties. We see them as people. We come to see them as people who are good at one thing and maybe not so good at something else. Don's great at creative. He's great at ideas. He's great at getting the chick, but he's not great at maintaining the relationship with a woman. He's not a great dad. He tries to be, though. But in the end, I think he comes to that realization. And what's really cool about that final scene is as he's doing yoga, he gets to smile. And that smile is the genesis for, that's right, the Coke commercial, 1970s, that I remember. When I first saw it, I thought, it's really cool to have all people of all colors. I remember telling my mom that in one commercial. That was really something else. Never got enough of that commercial. It's one of my favorites in my life. Wow. So Mad Men end, but you gotta ask it. Is there going to be a movie? Will there be a Mad Men movie? There should be a Mad Men movie. Stay tuned.